collector requirement, as simply put. So to do what? To build ourselves a good ARM-based native development machine, so we are happy to use. Reasonably happy. I'm not looking for to that everybody to really happy. But if we can make something everybody's excited about, that's great. But what we want to do is that one of the most talked about topics seems to disconnect, and actually since last connect is why do we have to continue to tolerate the fact that ARM's being the second citizen in terms of for developers, to the point where we have so many very good SoCs. Why do we have to keep using x86 and the cross compilation, and to do any real ARM-based development? So that's what this session is for. I don't have a lot of slides. As I said, I just used the excuse. I only knew I'm supposed to be speaking 2 minutes ago. But this is a list which we have talked quite a bit among certain groups of Linaro, that what we like to see. So if I were to put my own money down, say I want to buy an ARM development machine, what do I want to see on desk? We come up with a couple of different categories, actually. The one which is entry level, or I say even entry level, which is Intel NUC, looks like SBC, with a reasonable powerful SBC wrapped inside. Second category is the one which we think would be good enough for us to use, a developer PC. And that's the one which I'd like to focus on to talk about. So again, this is not a typical session where I talk a lot and you listen, and most of them doesn't make sense. And so this is a session where you raise your hand and tell me what you want to see, and what is the dying demand you really want to see if there is a machine, such machine comes up. And do you want to see such machine comes up? So that's it. And the floor is yours. Raise your hand if you want to get something, Masami.
So I want to see the machine, our machine which can support the normal SATA or mini PCI Express, so that we can set the storage for build. Because that eMMC is usually very fragile for the build process, because we usually build the binaries repeatedly. So yeah, it would be nice to have the storage.
We tick that box, didn't we? We tick that box here. Maybe I should just get the phone.
I think we've been for a developer system that people actually want to use. I think we've come very far past SATA. By now, NVMe is a requirement for a thing that people want to use.
So NVMe storage, I would say.
NVMe storage is that means more than one PCIe slot. So you have one for GPU and one for NVMe storage. And of course, that would be an M2 slot, but having lots of PCIe slots would be sufficient.
So that would be at least M key, right? M key or M key, yes. Yep. Okay, good point, thanks.
So one thing I'm concerned about is that if we're going to come up with something, so it's not just a developer machine where you can do your work, but it's also people that are knowledgeable about this hardware can actually find and fix bugs. If we're going to have something with a Realtek chip wired to the PC on the board, I'm sure we're going to find lots and lots and lots of bugs in the Realtek driver, but nowhere else. So I would prefer to focus as much on PCIe good, well-working PCIe with much of slots and putting as little as we can fix on the board or fix inside the SoC, so we can really avoid the monoculture of only having a certain combination of peripherals and never anything else.
So, I think that one of developer stuff, it's really awesome to have NVMe, but it's really awesome to not spend $1,000 on hardware. So, sure, for me as a developer who is using Upright Micro Mustang, I think that something with even mini ETX format, which is available on the market, give me power to connect to SATA storage. I can connect SSD, for example, to have fast storage and quite cheap one as well, to normal DIMM slots for memory, which I can buy in a store at the corner. So no ECC. For Christ's sake, no ECC. One day I looked, can I buy ECC 16 gigs DIMM in Polish computer stores? None of them had them. I don't know stores which sell server hardware, so I'm not able to buy ECC DIMM memory. And if it will come in box, then some people will want 8, some people will want 16, some people will want 128 gigs of memory.
Just for reference, I want ECC.
Sure, you want, but I would like to have it optional.
Yes, yeah, that's
right?
good.
Obviously, when we were drawing up this spec, we were actually thinking workstation, not your 200 quid PC.
So definitely we need to be looking at something with real I/O. You know, not the usual crappy mobile chipset with soldered on 2 gigs of RAM.
Yes, and also not just LPDDR4, because that would exclude the DIMM slots too.
So gigabit Ethernet, yes. PCIe slots, so you can add even more Ethernet. How many USB slots are you talking?
4 at least.
Yeah, try 4.
Well, 2 is enough if you have enough PCIe slots. You can interchange them to some degree. If you have PCIe, you can always add more USB if you need that.
Use hubs, yeah.
So obviously USB falls down with the monoculture. Obviously USB a bit does fall down with the monoculture problem.
Did you just say you don't want LPDDR4, right?
So LPDDR4 means that we cannot have DIMM. That would be mutually exclusive. You either have a very small LPDDR4 that's fairly slow, or you have very fast and big DDR4 DIMMs.
There's also a software side for this. Please God, we need to have everything upstream. We want UEFI support upstream.
I should just start this session by saying we don't talk about software here. Okay, thanks. That's a really good comment. I do want to, obviously halfway, and again, apologize for being delayed, but I want to focus a bit of a time in the SoC choice, which is kind of elephant in the room. So I have personally spent a lot of time, and I know some others, Art and Left, we sit down actually quite a bit in discussing what actually are the good candidates for the SoC we can use to build this machine. I must admit that we need your guys' help, because we didn't come up with very good ones, or at least this is the one we came up with anyway. So that's one for Marvell, and if you don't know already, there's a Marvell networking community board which was built to 96 baud specification. I can tell you that, but obviously they left in error, and so there is Marvell's SoC with a reasonable entry-level performance is a 57 core, I remember. The second option is a Phytium. This is a Chinese SoC vendor, higher-end server chip. The third one is NVIDIA. maybe we are not the first choice if we want a very friendly open source community acceptance as a start. The reason because we went for these three candidates is because that we have not able, we have not been able to convince these three to come up and engage working with us, being Qualcomm and Cavium and HiSilicon, to have a development-oriented machine. And to us, obviously, it's a bit disappointing, but that's we're open to suggestions here in terms of SOC choice.
So, let me start by saying that what he said is not a software question; it's a hardware question. If those guys don't want to play with the community, then they are out of the list. It's that simple. Only if they want to play upstream, then we have to promote these people and do that kind of board. If they don't want to play, what are we talking to them? What's the point? We already have had boards, 96 boards and all the others, that they don't have anything upstream. And it's just impossible to work with them. So what is Linaro doing with these people? Isn't the point of Linaro to tell these people, stop hiding?
So I'm not actually disagree with that point. I mean, one of the things why, everybody knows, or everybody at least in this room in Linaro's point knows that 96-volt was a very controversial concept from the outset.
Oh, I'm not bashing 96.
No, I don't mind actually. I really don't, because I think everybody should know the fact that I'm probably not the most friendly person you would ever meet, but I don't really mind people's different view. Okay, that's the fact. Now, the point I'm trying to say here, we are not trying to make a king here with this exercise. This exercise is trying to build something we can use ourselves. Obviously, it's related to the all the standard ABS compliance and UEFI, ACPI. Of course, it's related to the requirement, but our focus here is to have a machine we are happy with, we can use, stable enough, which we don't have to fiddle with it all the time.
If the kernel is not upstream, we won't be happy with it.
Right. So that is a hard requirement we need.
It's the hardest.
So that's why we did start from these three, I must admit. We did start with three because these three were the partner of the enterprise reference platform, do have a better than those guys in terms of kernel and the boot architecture. But the hard fact is, either they've been very cautious, or we're just not talking to the right people to enable them, their SoC on the hardware. As I said, we are still trying, but we are looking for help. Or any other suggestion, we are open to it. So SoC choice, any good ideas?
I'm not sure if we can rule out rock chips. RK3399 in the latest Chromebook doesn't have a lot of RAM. It does have PCIe, which can solve a lot of the other problems.
Sorry, what's the chip?
RK3399.
Does not have PCIe?
It does have PCIe. It has PCIe and USB 3, which is the main thing it has going for it. And it has, it only has 2 Cortex A72s as far as I know. So it's also it has some small cores on the side, but so it's that would be the absolute low end, I think. But it has reasonable kernel support because of all the work that Google and their Chrome OS team is putting in there, and Rock Chips is working upstream for that. So on the low end, that would be my first choice, I think. On the high end, this is not something that you would enjoy building kernels on because it is only 2 cores and is limited by RAM.
How much RAM?
I don't know. I assume it has dual channel LPDDR4, and you can see what the largest chips are that you can get for that.
It's just not a mobile chip.
It's the high end of the mobile, so it's certainly more than a lot of the other mobile chips.
Would you be happy with it as your daily desktop?
Yeah, that's a good question.
No, clearly.
No, I mean I have a 24-core Opteron right now. If to replace that, I would need a 64-core Cortex A73 or something, which doesn't exist. So you're not going to make me happy. So that's the where we find the balance between affordability and the performance we want. I mean, we can try to have a 4-socket server chip in there and try to make it silent, but at what cost?
Right. I mean, we did give it a go with AMD, right? We did give AMD a go about 8 months ago with we call shadow board with a server chip with 4-core turned off. We did try it, but well, that one didn't go well. So there is a choice of a server chip, but it does not have a good, does not have a the best core. So it's A53 core. I mean, I'm not sure how much of you actually have specific requirement in terms of what core you're using, but A52, sorry, A53 is not as powerful as mostly referring to 57, 72, or 73, etc. But I don't know whether, but that's the only server chip which we found today are willing to engage with us. I can't tell the SLC name because they don't want to reveal, but that's the core is 53 based, 24 core.
So he said about we may try to make it silent. Don't. Because if you try, I will put a heat sink on it, and it will be crap heat sink, and it would burn and whatever. So design the chip and the heat sink and the fan. Please put a fan in it.
No, I meant having no server fan in there.
Right, that's fine. Put water cooler. I don't care, but design it to be cooled externally, because the people put like cheap plastic on the cover, and then they don't convey the heat well, and then the heat sink is crap, and it makes no difference. So please design it for heat sinks and active cooling.
Please design it for already existing heatsink solutions.
Even, well, third-party heat sinks as well.
Like
yes.
Gigabyte.
Yeah, I see what I mean, yes.
You take gigabyte board with KVM CPU, and you just go to the store and buy several LGA 2011 heatsink.
For $5, yes.
That's basically what I meant.
Yes.
Not having a big array of noisy fans in the front.
Indeed. Oh, right, yes.
The heatsink which they used on cello costed more than cello.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I have to agree with him on this one. That's true, actually. Okay.
Yang, what were the roadblocks for the Cavium parts? Because the Cavium have now started pushing their low-end server stuff, which is 8 and 16
I'm not
core
sure.
fast cores.
Do I have Kevin people in the room?
I was expecting that. I've been hoping for boards of this type to emerge.
So we did. I did
Cavium.
have a conversation with Roy. Sorry to talk over you. So I did have a conversation with Roy earlier this week. They are actually interested in using this one particular chip.
They sell hardware today, and they have a good
But
streaming process.
I say but I have been having that same answer for the last 6 months. So
Well, the other problem with the Cavium chips that they are selling is lack of AH32 support, which could be a problem for certain people.
Deal with it.
yeah, I mean, my experience is obviously you probably know I did a lot of board. I'm studying a lot of board. So experience tells me if a SoC vendor keep telling you they wanted to do something but not put the gas pedal down, more likely it's not going to happen, right? It's just commitment is not there. So I'm not saying we're not going to go for those guys, but I'm telling you the fact is they are not engaging. We have a problem of actually getting a proper SoC.
I just remembered one more SoC that just came out, which is also on the small end. That's the Broadcom BCM47 49. Sorry, 49 something. That's only 149. That's it's for wireless routers. It's also on the low end. Quad B53. That has PCI Express. Okay, that sounds about right. No, that's too long.
Okay, thanks. We'll take a look.
Yep.
So I'm not just throwing problems at you. I do have a proposal to make here. We said, I think we have a pretty good handle on the interface we want. Well, we're developers, right? You guys developers, you know what you want. And I don't know as much as you guys, but I kind of know a little. But the problem on this one is SoC choice. I think we all agree on that. We do have a way forward. We do have a way forward is by not going to the full length with the first build. I know what I say, I'm probably going to be shot at. What I'm trying to say is, in absence of an ideal SoC choice, would you guys be okay with, for us to get something out first? Let's say with a top-end mobile chip, for instance, with a high-end, embedded chip, which we're using on network device, with a good software support. That's well.
So long as it has appropriate support, and we're not having to fight and do all the development for it ourselves, yes. So, as background, you probably know this, probably not everybody else here knows. Leif and I and a bunch of people started a company 2 years ago to try and do exactly this. We spoke to, oddly, most of the companies who you've listed there for their SoCs. All of them said, yes, we're really interested, we'd love to help, but we can't do it commercially, we don't see any money in it. So, the issue is either you're fighting with mobile people who do not care about getting things upstream, and we've been told this, or you're talking to server people who do care, but they're going to want $1,000 a chip.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's quite a lot of challenge here. So again, I think I do know that part of history. But I think we are now developer community are now to the point. If we continue to stay where we are right now, be happy and be content with cross compilation, be content with we have to have 86 brand new on our desk. This day, then we're gonna come. So what I'm saying is, yes, by building this one might be difficult, right? But we can probably make this one happen very soon. The problem with this is,
Yes.
right, so I'm not going to even finish that sentence. So, so what I'm trying to say is that a compromise we have to make, such as GPU and others. So we have a compromise to make, but what I'm trying to get agreements across this room is, based on our best efforts research so far, to build an ideal PC today is going to be hard. With a chip powerful enough we want to use on a daily basis. There is a server chip, as I said, 24 core, but 853, and it has its limitation. We'll see how far that one goes. That one could potentially be a low end. I don't know how willing you will be willing to recompile the kernel on the 53.
24 core 853 is okay. It's better than anything else.
Sure. Yeah,
Right.
the actual core CPU is probably one of the least important things here. So long as you say, low power but lots of cores is fine. So long as you have sufficient memory to make it usable, so long as you have working graphics, so long as you have the working other interfaces, as we've said, PCIe, USB, SATA, the normal standard interfaces, that's what will make or break this.
Yeah.
We're running into my session here. If we're doing this one, it has to be Qualcomm. That's the only one that has a GPU. The other two are ruled out already by the fact that you can't attach another GPU, and the one that's on there doesn't have open source support.
Wasn't that the PCIe? It's new. It doesn't need to have PCIe.
These chips don't have PCI. That's the problem.
What about NVIDIA?
That would work. That would be the other slide. That would be the second slide. That it was on there. TX2 is that would be the second thing.
Yeah. The problem is if you go too low with this, you've lost half the people
Yes.
before you start. The second one is massively more likely to work and get people engaged.
And among those, I would totally go for the Marvell, because the Armada 8050 is a very nice chip. You can turn off all the 10 gig Ethernet and use the physical lanes for PCI Express. You have lots of PCI Express slots. And you can put anything else on there you want.
Roy, do you want to say something on behalf of Kevin? I'm sorry, I can't help. I saw you walk in the room.
Come on. Use the mic.
No, he doesn't need a mic.
I don't think I'm authorized to say anything. I think this is something that you know I'd like to see us support. You know, again, I have no influence on business decisions like that, but I think it's complicated to you know, bring something like this to market and really support it well. Is we want to make sure that we can provide, you know, if we do get involved with something like this, it needs to be something where we can provide, you know, a good end user experience, and that's challenging when, you know, if we're targeting the server market and we're then making basically an enthusiast board, you know, they're going to use it in ways that we weren't, you know, planning. So, you know, that can be challenging from a support perspective, and I know that, you know, user experience out of the box has been, you know, problems. There have been difficulties with that in other 96 boards, you know, so, you know, if we can't do that right.
That's not the user's problem. I mean,
No.
Raspberry Pi is a crap chip with a crap package, but everybody loves it. And the user experience is breaking it. Well, a lot of people out there love it, right? It sells millions, and nobody can blame
Sure,
it.
but we're targeting, you know, the engineers, not, yeah.
The point is that people are forgiving when they're given the choice.
We have something that's really
It's trying to do right. People will accept half measures.
Maybe, but you have to think that that's maybe the engineer view. But if you're a marketing guy and that you now see a whole bunch of forum posts, if it's like this board, I did it, it didn't work, and you search in, type in, you know, blah blah blah, and you get a whole bunch of bad press. That's
How much bad press Intel's get on their laptops? An absurd amount.
there's a, you know, if we don't feel that we can
we're running 10 minutes over now.
So it's worth trying to get an idea of potential numbers for this if you're talking to SoC vendors as well. Again, having gone down this route slightly before and talking to people at conferences, talking to people I work with at OM, there are hundreds to thousands of engineers who were already saying to us, here, have money, when, you know, please have my money, I want to make this work. If we can get somebody to actually engage with us, there is a real market for this, and, you know, that's the difficult thing that you're going to have to convince them of.
So I think support is also another thing. You know, if there's a 96 Boards Foundation that handles all support for everything, and because I don't think that Broadcom's much involved in Raspberry Pi. They throw the chip over the wall, don't even give you documentation, and somebody else does everything else. That's not really, I think, the position that.
So again, Marvell is the one that has documentation for their chips, that has upstream support, and they can sell you chips in small numbers. That's what they have going for it. Otherwise, it probably doesn't compete with.
Yeah, I
some
mean,
of the other chips.
we do have a compliance which we go through, but these, just to resum, I mean, we are overrun. We probably need to work in route, but we are looking to not build not a perfect, but a good enough. I mean, good enough development machine for ARM developers, for an ARM native development, where you are willing to use, turn on every day basis. It doesn't have to buy an x86 machine. That's the target. And I don't think we will be able to conclude this discussion based on the fact that I'm 10 minutes late. Please do get in touch with me or, well, any single one of Linaro employee, because they'll know where to find the right people. We do want to continue this discussion. I want to say one last thing before I close this session. The way of working I prefer, before we find the perfect solution, I like to get something out there first. Right? That's why I don't mind criticism. But what I do mind is silence, where you have nothing to comment, you have nothing to collect feedback with. So what I'm saying is, let's build something first. May not be perfect. So if you are all agree with me, that's something I will be pushing forward right away. Okay? So I might, yeah, that's a good idea. So I will be creating a mailing list. So for all of us who are willing to sign off, and yeah.